Hashem should answer you on the day of your distress, your troubles, your sorrow. The name of which God of Jacob should support you. You should send help. B'Kodesh, from his holy place. Umitzion, and from Zion. What is Zion? Jerusalem. Yerushalayim. It's the base of Mikdash, the Holy of Holies. Yisadeka, he should give you strength. Yizkar kol mechosecha, he should recall all the things that you've done. Your devotion, our devotion to God through the ages, 3,500 years. We didn't throw away. V'oilasacha yadashna sela. And an oila is an offering, an animal offering, or it could be a flower offering. You don't have the money. It could be a bird offering, pigeon, a dove. If you don't have, you can't afford more, but you bring an offering to say thank you to Hashem. So our way of saying thank you for our life, for the blessings. Yadashna Sela. So please recall these, Hashem, and turn to us now in our time of distress. And he should answer you and give you all your heart's requests. And the resolutions that you take upon yourself. That's the idea of the Eitzah. What's an Eitzah? Eitzah is a good idea, a counsel. So the good ideas that you came up with should be accepted. Like, that's a good idea. If the candle lighting time on Friday is 5 after 7, I'm going to be sure to be in the dorm at 5 after 6. Not too hard, but it's a step in the right direction. It's an important step in the right direction. The Friediger Rebbe writes in his memoirs, which I recommend to all of you girls, the Memoirs of the Lubavitcher Rabbi. That's what it's called. Funny title, not very exciting, but that is a historical record, rare historical record of Chabad. He's writing about his fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers since the Baal Shem Tov, and even from before the Baal Shem Tov. Should give you your heart's requests. And he should fulfill you, he should enable you to keep the good ideas, the good resolutions that you make. Your good resolution creates a vessel to hold the blessings that you're asking for. The Ranana, then, when the blessings come, the Ranana, we shall rejoice. Yeshuasecha, in your salvation. This is what we're praying for. This is very real, girls. It's not just words of inspiration. This is what we're praying for today. We are in a war, a very real war. People are suffering. Yeshuasecha, we shall rejoice in your salvation, Hashem. Uv'shem Eloheinu nidga. We will raise the name of our God on a banner and on high, and fly it high. Yomale Adonai kol mishalesecha, and Hashem should fulfill all your requests. Ata, the word Ata with an ayin means now. With an aleph it means you. Ata, you or Ata. People from Sephardic traditions, they pronounce the ayin. We Ashkenazim, we don't pronounce the difference between an ayin and an aleph, but the ayin is really guttural. And they do pronounce it very distinctly from a Mediterranean background. The Jews of the Sephardic traditions, they pronounce that ayin Ata, Ata. Now I know, says King David. King David was saved miraculously time and time again from people who wanted to kill him and obliterate the dynasty of King David, which he established with the blessing of God, and that it should never exist or survive. And he says, now I know, ki Mashiach Adonai Mashiach, Hashem saves his Messiah, his Mashiach, his anointed one. Who is the Mashiach? The Mashiach is the king, the leader of the generation, the leader of the Jewish people. He saves him, I know, because it's so many times he himself was saved. He was promised that he would be a king. And a lot of times it didn't look like he was going to make it. Yanehu, he should answer, Hashem should answer him, and does answer him, Mishmei, from the word Shemaim, from his heavens, Kodshe, which are holy. B'gevures, with might, Gevur is might, strength, Yesha, salvation, Yemine, from his right hand. So he brings together the right, the kind, and the kindness and the strength, all in one blessing. Eile, 8, Ches, verse 8. Eile, some, meaning our enemies, come with their chariots, with their wagons of destruction, with their tanks, with their drones, with their ve'ele besusim, and others with cavalry, with armored vehicles. We come with the name of God on our lips. Now we don't just go without army, with an army. We have to have an army. It has to be a powerful army. Why do we need a powerful army? We're not a people of war. Because we want our enemies to know that we have the ability to destroy them. We need to have an army. We don't want to use it. Hema karu v'nafalu, they stumbled, they fell. V'anachnu kamnu, but we rose up. 3,500 years, we keep on rising back up. V'nis'aydeit, and we are stalwarts. We are holding our position. Adonai Heshia, Hashem, save us, should save us. Hamelech, he is our king. Yanenu, he should answer us. B'yem karenu, on the day that we call unto him. That's the story. The day we call unto him. You know, you're going to read a story. Just a second. The Torah tells us about a war in the times of Abraham. There were 5 kings, just like there are 5 boroughs here in New York. There were 5 kings in the area of the Dead Sea and the plains, very lush, rich area there, which was sought after. And there were 5 kings living there in the area of Sodom, and Amorah. There were 5 boroughs. And the president of each borough, like we have a president here, a Brooklyn borough president, he was a king. They were kings. There were 5 kings, and they were conquered by 4 other great kings, one of whom was the infamous Nimrod. And they had to pay tribute, they had to pay taxes to these 4 kings. And this went on for 12 years. And they said, enough is enough. We're not doing this anymore. And they rebelled. They refused to pay taxes anymore. And so the 4 kings came. So Nimrod and his allies raised an army. And they set out from where he came from Iraq, to the Holy Land. I guess they came on foot, came over land. And there was a war. It was a very big war. And the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah were defeated, and they took hostages. And one of them was, we're familiar with this, what it means, hostages. And Lot, Abraham's brother-in-law, his wife's brother, was captured and taken. There's a whole hemshik, the whole story. But the interesting thing that I want to bring up here is that the five kings were defeated. The five kings of Sodom were the Sodom, you've heard of the term Sodom is not a nice place. It was a very not nice place. It was, a place of perversion and crime, cruelty. They were defeated and they were fleeing. They were running for their lives. The king of Sodom and the king of Amorah. The Torah even tells us their names. And they were running for their lives. And there were clay pits there. They used the clay for building. And the clay pits were, I guess they were like quicksand. People who fell into the clay pits did not come back out. And they both fell in. They were being pursued. They were running for their lives, and they fell into the clay pits. Now, we all know the story of Abraham. Before he was Abraham, he was Abraham. He was Avram. Avram means a father. And Ram, like we learned yesterday, Marom, means something high, exalted. He was a Makubal, Avram. He was a master of the highest knowledge of godliness. How he got it, that's a different story, different class. But anyway, they fell into the clay pits. And, Avram, before he was Abraham, he began teaching the world about the unity of God, that there's one invisible God. It doesn't make any sense. If God is the creator of the world, who can worship a desk or a chair or a table or a statue? But everybody did it. Everybody did it. And if they were successful, so they had other people who copied them. It was the end thing. So Avram's father actually was a millionaire. He was an advisor to the king Nimrod. He was a very smart person. They were from a very holy family, the family of Shem. That's where we're Semites. That's where it came from. Three children of Noah after the flood. Noah survived. He had three children: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Shem, we all come from Shem. This is our family. And Shem learned Torah from Noah. How do we know that they knew Torah? Because the Torah says it. What's Noah famous for? What? Yeah, what did he do in the Mabul? Went for a swim. He built a boat. And anybody who was on that boat survived. The whole world comes from those creatures and people that were able to enter the boat. And not just anybody could get in. So Avram learned from the wisdom of Shem, which he learned from the wisdom of Noah. How do we know that Noah had wisdom? Because he was told how many kosher animals came into the boat. How many animals could get into the boat? Everybody knows this. They came by twosies and twosies. They came two by two. If they were not kosher, all the animals, lions and tigers, 2 lions, 2,000. But if they were kosher, 7 by 7. How did Noah know the difference between kosher and non-kosher? It's obvious. He learned Torah. Who taught him? His father. Who was his father? Came from Adam. How did Adam know? Shem taught. Shem created Adam, taught him. These things are known from the beginning of time. Wasn't made up, like Margaret Mead says, by a bunch of rabbis in the desert. So they were fleeing. Now Avram, he discovered he was abandoned. He was abandoned by his father. The soothsayers told Nimrod that someone is being born, I see you see in the stars, who's going to overthrow your kingdom. Kill the children. What do? Kill the children. Terach was his advisor. Terach was a descendant of Shem and Noah and Shem, from the family of Shem. He didn't want to kill his child. On the other hand, he was afraid, maybe the soothsayers were correct, the stargazers, maybe they knew something that he didn't know. Stargazers do know something, don't know exactly what they see, but they see. They see, but they don't know exactly what. So he abandoned his child, and somehow he survived. And he figured out by himself, he was wondering what's going on with the world. Where's it all coming from? I mean, he was a lofty neshama, Avram. And he won't wait. Every kid thinks about these things. I'm sure many of you thought about it when you were little kids. I did. Where's it all from? So he thought maybe, well, the sun, everybody loves the sun. The sun makes everything grow. It's so nice in the morning when the sun comes up. Maybe the sun is the source of life. No sun, nothing grows. But then he saw the moon pushed away the sun. So maybe the moon was stronger than the sun. Logical. And the moon got bigger and bigger. Beautiful. Then it got smaller, and then it disappeared. How could God disappear? Didn't make sense. So, but he saw how the moon was moving across the sky from east to west, and the stars were moving from east to west, and they were setting in the west. He said, yeah, it's like they're bowing down. Maybe God is in the west. That's what says the Talmud. The Shekhinah, the presence of God, is in the west. That's why everything, sunflower goes like this. From east, that's east. West. And then finally, he realized that the creator of the whole world couldn't be anything which is limited, because there was life everywhere. So it had to be something that could be everywhere. And he realized the idea that there's the power and life in everything is everywhere. And it's not something you can see. You can see its effects. You can't see God. And he began teaching this to people. Now, his father, Terach, he was a big business, he was an advisor, he was a wise man. He was big in the government. He was a powerful guy. He was a mover and shaker. And he had a business. His business was, you're going to laugh, idols are us. He could have idols for every price, for whatever you could afford. One day, I'm sure you learned the story when you were a little kid in Sunday school. If you went to Sunday school, that one day he left his son Avram in charge of the store. And Avram said, this is so ridiculous. So he smashed all the idols. To smash an idol is an icon, right? He took a big stick and he smashed the idol. He's the first iconoclast. That's what it is, an iconoclast, the person who smashes idols. And he left one big one. A woman came to knocking at the door. She had a plate of delicious looking cholent food, whole meal. He said, who's this for? She said, this is for the idol that I pray to. You should bless me. Ram said, are you not crazy? My father just made this last month. It's brand new. How can he bless you? Oh, I don't know. Just, I give this to the idol. So he took the plate of food, he put it in front of the big idol, and then the biggest one, most expensive of all the idols, and he took a big stick, not a stick, a bludgeon, and he smashed all the idols. His father came home. The place was millions of dollars destroyed. His father invested millions making all these idols, having them made, formed. So what did you do? He said they had a fight. Some lady brought some delicious food, and they fought over it. It was the one idol wanted it, the other idol didn't want it. He said, no, it's mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. And they fought, and he destroyed everything. It was a whole big fight here. So I said, who are you trying to fool? I don't like this. And you remember that there had been a prophecy that he's going to overthrow the kingdom. he was taking on now the belief of the whole world, which was idols. You worship idols. What could be more insulting, more ingracious, more absurd than living in a world that's created by God and saying it's been created by these statues, worshiping statues? That's why it's such an abomination. Why it's so disgusting, so ungrateful. Like a person gives you everything, and then you thank somebody else for what you got. A person saves you, gives you life, he rescues you from the dungeon, he washes you up, he gives you clothes, he gives you food, he gives you a place to live, he gives you a wife and family and your happy life, and then you go and say, who are you? I don't know you. I know my bank manager. That's the respect, the lack of respect you show. That's why idol worship is such an abomination. Why it's so disgusting. So he took his son to Nimrod. So what are we going to do with this? I'm afraid for my son. And Nimrod challenged him and said, you believe in an invisible God? Well, I believe in the God of fire. Let's see who's greater. And this is the story. Or Kasdim, they lived in a place called Kasdim, which is Iraq. And he built a fiery furnace. It was so hot, even the servants that were building it were burned up. And they threw Avram into the furnace. He came out alive. And Nimrod, they could actually see that inside, Avram was with other people in there. Who were they? They were angels. And the fire did not burn him because he was higher than creation. He was higher than the elements of creation. And the laws of nature did not affect him. He had a brother-in-law. They said to his brother-in-law, whose side are you on, Nimrod's or Avram's? He said, well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. So Avram came out. He said, I guess, and they said, no, whose side are you on now? He said, I guess I'm on Avram's side. It's my brother-in-law. And I see that he was he won. He said, okay. They threw him in. He burned up like a match. Why? Because he was relying on the laws of nature. The laws of nature, fire burns. Avram didn't say, well, we'll see if the fire burns and then I'll do the test. He did the test because he believed in God. He believed that it was true, that he was teaching truth to people. He wasn't a preacher collecting money. So people didn't believe it. Some people believed it, some people didn't. That's the point of the whole story, is that everybody heard about this, but they didn't have cell phones. They couldn't know if it was true or not. Some people said, yeah, of course it's true. I heard from him teaching. He's great. Other people said, go on. So now back to the ranch. The kings of Sodom and Gomorrah are running for their lives, and they fall into the clay pits. Guess what happens? The king of Sodom comes out alive, and the king of Gomorrah does not. So people said, you see, that proves it. If the king of Sodom could come out of the clay pits, Avram could come out of the fiery furnace. So why didn't the king of Gomorrah come out? This is a medrash. What's a medrash? Medrash is the teachings of the rabbis, the oral preachings, the traditions that come to us from Mount Sinai. Excuse me, I have this congestion here. It goes away with it won't be every morning like that. Anyway, so the Medrash tells us, because what happened was they were sinking into the quicksand and they saw that their end was fast approaching, and they called out to their gods, the ones that they believed in. Didn't help. Didn't help. They called louder. Didn't help. Called even louder, more desperately. The mud was getting higher and higher. The king of Sodom called out in the name of the God of Avram, save me, please. Hashem, save me. It came out. Somehow he came out. So why didn't the king of Amorah do the same thing? Because he couldn't bring himself to admit that Avram was right. He would rather die calling on his idol than call on the God of Avram. And you know people like that. You know people like that. They see the truth and they don't want to admit it no matter what. All right. That's our digression for today. And this is the tradition that we have inherited. And with this tradition comes also all the esoteric knowledge, which is an understanding of deeper and deeper levels of this truth. Excuse me. Time for the class. We didn't give tzedakah. So let's give tzedakah. Why do we give tzedakah at the beginning of the class? Because when you give tzedakah, you're giving something that could enhance your life. So since you're willing to enhance someone else's life, you need listen to your prayers that you should enhance your life. And this, when you think about this gives a vitality, an energy, a warmth, that when you say a prayer, you need. One, two, now I have an instruction here. I should take attendance. I have to stick to the schedule. So you have these papers from yesterday. This is written by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, an introduction to the translation of the Tanya.
Can you pass them out with me at the end of the class? Can you pass them out?
Yeah, sure. Pass these out.
Someone came around and collected them.
Okay, here, pass these out. Hold on. Just be sure to bring them tomorrow. And if you don't have, so ask Mrs. Yapi, she'll make you a copy. And since it's from the Rebbe, every word is meaningful. And he says, Hasidus, what is Hasidus? That's the point of this. What is Hasidus? Tanya, we're here to learn Tanya. It's Tanya 101. It could be Tanya 1,000,001. Because Tanya is the heart, it's the very heart of the whole of the Torah. So it seems funny that we're learning Tanya like it's a beginner's course, but it's not for it's not just for beginners. It's you have a whole libraries all based on the teachings in the Tanya. So Hasidus in general, where does Hasidus from? What is Hasidus? Hasidus there was a famous Hasid of recent times. He said, Hasidus is life. It's life itself. Are we alive? Yeah, we're alive. How do you know? How do you know? What is this life that's in it? We said yesterday, everybody has to know they have a neshama. So there's different levels of life. There's basic human life. Animals have life. Everything has life. Trees have life. Rocks have life. People didn't believe that rocks had life till they invented the atomic energy, split the atom, released the energy of splitting the atom. What are rocks made of? Dynamite. Dynamite was, they started to approach the idea of life within things when they invented dynamite, when they discovered dynamite. And you take powder and ignite it and a big explosion. Energy, releasing the energy. There's life and energy is in everything, but there are levels of energy. There's energy that is inanimate energy. That's called mineral. I used to play a game when I was a kid. 21 questions. Did you do that? The one who was it had your friends would guess something. They would decide on something that they were going to think about. And the person who's it had to figure out what it was. You had 21 questions to figure it out. So the first question is vegetable, animal, vegetable, or mineral? The three categories of creation. It's mineral, that's inanimate. Inanimate is also called in Hebrew silent. Rocks don't talk, except in the Medrash. The Medrash talks to them. It says when David HaMelech, how did David HaMelech kill Goliath, the giants? Nobody could kill him. Everybody was afraid of him. Well, David HaMelech was not a David HaMelech, he was just David. He was a shepherd. He had a sling. And he was very good with this sling. And he could direct it. And he went to the Medrash says, he went the night before the confrontation. It was 40 days, this monster was challenging the Jewish people. Send here someone, fight me. If not, you have to surrender. I'm going to rule over you. Shaul was the king. He couldn't do that. He couldn't surrender, but he couldn't fight him either. David said, I'll fight him. And that's a long story, but he went to the river the night before and he selected 5 stones. And it says in the Medrash, the stones spoke to him. One stone said, this will be for his forehead. That one said, this will be for his heart. Anyway, so he took these stones, boom, let it fly, hit Goliath right there in the forehead. Down he went. So that's inanimate. Stones do speak. Stars speak. Chapter 19 in Psalms, look it up. Stars speak, but nobody hears their voice. They praise, what do they say? They sing praises of God, and that propels them across the sky. Stars speak. So we have the inanimate world, the silent world. We are not silent, we are speakers. We are medaber. We are dibur. Speech is a sign of intellect. We have plants. Anybody read the Tolkien books? Lord of the Rings? It was just when I was young. That was the fad. Everybody was reading it. There was a whole series of books from England. The whole world of growing things had a voice in this book. It was a classical book, a big, huge book about the war between good and evil, based on mythology and legends from the English tradition. But it was really well done and fascinating, and everything had a voice in that book. So yes, the flowers and the trees, they all speak. We don't understand their language. Prophets do. Mystics do. At least in the old days, they would. There's a story that someone came to, not the Baal Shem Tov, the ancestor, not even an ancestor, it's the reincarnation from which the Baal Shem Tov was created, was an unknown tzaddik. And Elijah the prophet was sent to teach him Torah because of something that he did, and nobody knows what it was. And he refused to reveal it to anybody because what I did only for God. And I never told anybody, I'm not going to tell you. He said, I'll teach you everything. I'll teach you the language of the birds and the trees. So we learn from this story that everything has a language, but we don't hear it. So growing things have more life, visible life, than the silent world. So they grow, they develop. Animals are a stage higher. Animals not only grow, they move. Plants don't move. How plants move is called one of the miracles of creation. It's called, in scientific terms, it's called how growing things disperse their seeds and reproduce. Because if the seeds don't get around, then everything is just going to grow in one place. There won't be room for things to. So, Velcro, right? Why do Velcro is such a magical thing, right? Where does it come from? Burrs. You know what burrs are? You go into the woods, you come up with burrs all over your clothing. Hashem invented burrs, created burrs with Velcro on them. Some smart person said, "Ooh, we could make a lot of money with this. It's so useful. It's better than glue." And it would latch onto the fur of animals passing through, and then it would come off, and a new plant would grow with burrs on it. And look out on the avenue here. You'll see now all the acorns. How Hashem plants in trees these nuts, and squirrels gathering them and hiding them away for the wintertime and then forgetting where they are. And trees grow up from these acorns, because inside the acorn is a seed. And from the seed comes, not from the seed, the earth. The seed prompts the earth to give birth. That's growing things. Higher than the growing things, they don't move. So Hashem had every single growing thing has its amazing method of reproducing. Wondrous, absolutely wondrous. It's all in front of our eyes. We don't realize it. And then there's animals. Animals move and they grow. So that's another higher level of life. How can they ever be included? Well, growing things can never become animals, except how? If animals eat them. They become their blood, their flesh and blood. And we eat the animals. And when we're really hungry, you know what we like best? Growing things. Bread. Flour from wheat. Barley. Because the life in the lower things is from a higher source than the life in the higher. So we have 4 levels of life. Each one shows a higher level of life, but really the source of each one is lower than the. So that's why higher things live from lower things. So Hasidus is about life. That's our lesson for today. Hasidus is all about life, our life, and the life in the world, and what Hashem wants us to do about it. So yesterday we learned that everything has a body and a soul. That's the life. The soul is the life. L'chaim. Another thing, you will help me with this, is if I have a drink, like I just did, after you have a drink, before you go anywhere or do anything, you have to say, thank you, Hashem. So here we look into the Siddur, your mind. When I get all excited after a great class, exciting class, and I get up to leave, one of you will say, Rabbi, say a blessing. Don't forget to say a blessing. I'm human. I forget like everybody else. Okay. And here's the blessing on page 95 in the Siddur. So we learned a lot of things today. But everything is on topic. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the great weather. And we should hear good news. News of salvation for our people and for the world.